This is the last section of the specialist training, AP Management. In this section, you'll be introduced to the AP Management function provided by our WHG controllers, including wide area AP Management, local area AP Management, and lastly, a comparison and summary between the two methods. So as you know already, 4IPNet's solution provides and supports Layer 2 and Layer 3 AP Management. The WHG AP Management provides advantages such as having a centralized platform that can remotely control access points, as well as a web-based administration interface to manage APs and monitor their status. It helps save time and effort when dealing with APs. Moreover, you can perform bulk firmware upgrade and template-based configuration to simultaneously alter the configurations of selected APs. To summarize, regardless of the location of the deployed AP and the physical distance between the WHG controller and AP on either the LAN side or WAN side, this functionality provides IT managers a method to manage APs remotely. The network managed by across Layer 2 or Layer 3 network consists of the WHG controller that has its WAN configured with a public IP or private class A IP, for example 10.10.10.10. The service zones which are under the WHG NAT can be configured with either a Class B IP range like 172.21.1.254 or a Class C IP range 192.168.1.254. Of course, the APs and user devices connected to each service zone can be configured with an IP address within each corresponding subnet. What is LAPM and WAPM? As many of you may know already, LAPM is short for Local Area AP Management, which means you're managing 4IPNet APs over the LAN side in a Layer 2 network. WAPM, on the other hand, is abbreviated for Wide Area AP Management, meaning you're managing 4IPNet APs over the WAN or LAN side or monitoring third-party APs over the LAN side. This basically sums up the main difference between LAPM and WAPM and the AP management supported by the WHG controller. I'm going to cover WAPM AP management first. Like I've briefly touched on before, this is a centralized AP management over Layer 3 network. To emphasize once more, you can manage 4IPNet APs over WAN or LAN side. More specifically, we support the Google Map feature, which gives you a method to easily see where the APs are located via a Google Map API, which is ideal for managing an outdoor network deployment. Next is AP grouping, which is a function that allows you to group APs as well as apply permission for different IT managers. An IT manager in charge of a specific AP group may only apply changes to that group of APs. The AP list is a simple overview of your existing managed APs, including their associated clients. Within the template page, you may save a template of your configuration, which you can apply easily and simultaneously to multiple managed APs within your network. The firmware page is a platform where you can upload the AP's firmware and upgrade multiple APs at once. CapWAP's configuration page can allow the 4IPNet APs to communicate with the WHG controller over the Layer 3 network. To better understand how to apply this to an actual scenario, let us provide an example. There is a WHG controller deployed at our headquarters in Taipei, and we would like to manage an access point located in a partner's site in UK. For instance, it is still possible for our WHG controller to manage the AP via a CapWAP tunnel, despite the actual distance in between. Rogue AP detection as well as load balancing are features that may also be enabled remotely. Next, let's move on to the quick start guidelines for WAPM. We start with editing a generic AP template. When you're configuring the templates, please pay close attention to the parameters that you would like to apply to the targeted AP models. Then, you go to the AP list to add the different APs, then click the Apply button to apply the configured template. Also, if needed, you may access the AP's web UI via the hyperlink to change or view individual settings if necessary. It is recommended to make changes through the WHG's template to ensure synchronization and a record of configured settings. Depending on the WHG model, you may configure up to 30 templates. Each template can be divided into general settings, VAP configuration, advanced settings, and security settings. These are all parameters you can edit before you apply the configured template to your APs. Under General Settings, you can configure RF card of either 2.4 GHz or 5 GHz, Wi-Fi standard, channel and channel width, and the transmission rate plus transmit power. These parameters are pretty much the same across all AP models. Furthermore, under VAP configuration, you can enable VAP, name ESSID, input VLAN ID, apply uplink and downlink bandwidth, as well as set the CapWAP tunnel interface, which we will explain in more detail later. For advanced settings and security settings, there are various parameters that can be configured which are covered in the previous AP interface section. The following page is the WAPM AP list, which offers several methods to identify and search for specific APs using different parameters such as AP type, status, where the AP is located, how it is connected to the WHG controller, and last but not the least, the AP name. You can see here a screenshot of an AP list, which includes information such as AP type, name, IP address, template, status, number of users, tunnel type, AP admin web, and if there is an enabled CapWAP tunnel. By clicking the Go button, you can be easily redirected to the AP admin's UI. In the middle of the page, there are several buttons you can click that will perform the corresponding actions. So you can add, delete APs, add APs to maps, etc. Your next question then may be, how can I add an AP to a WAPM? There are two methods. The first one is you can manually add an AP by going to the page illustrated on the top screenshot, and then manually entering the information requested: device type, IP, name, login ID, SNM keys community, and the rest of the fields. The second option is to add multiple APs. You can select Auto Discovery under Add Method. When Discovery mode is enabled, please then specify the device type, the approximate IP range, the login ID, and password for the WHG controller to detect and discover the access points. Once all the AP's information are entered, click the Discover button and the page will be refreshed. Afterwards, the discovered results will be listed at the bottom under Device Results. You can then configure the device name before you add the selected APs. So as we just said, after you add the APs, you can then proceed to apply the template. Demonstrated on this screenshot, please check the box and then click on Apply Settings. Afterwards, a pop-up Apply Settings page will appear, and you can then either select the template or directly change the password. Next, let's move on to the map function that we've previously mentioned. As you can see here, we added an EAP767 to the Google Map API. What is then convenient about this graphical AP management option is that we can edit, delete, or access the AP's UI directly via the Go To button. Let's move on to CapWAP Tunnel, one of the most important features supported in WAPM. CapWAP is a protocol for the control and provisioning of wireless termination points, also known as access points. When you're enabling a CapWAP, please make sure that both WHG controller at the central site and the APs at remote locations are using UDP ports 5246 and 5247 to communicate with each other. Therefore, via an established CapWAP UDP tunnel, the WHG controller at the central site can easily manage the APs at the LAN side or the APs at different locations, no matter how far they are. To briefly recap, the benefits of WAPM with a CapWAP tunnel include cross-layer 3 network management on the intranet and internet, centrally managed users, and the ability to perform centralized traffic management. So how do you establish a CapWAP tunnel? First, you must enable CapWAP on the AP's UI. You can then assign the WAN IP address statically on the AP's web UI. Then you can enter the controller's IP address into the AP. And lastly, you can enable CapWAP function at the WHG controller. Afterwards, you're ready to configure the WAPM template. Under VAP configuration, please enable VLAN ID first. Then you can enable the CapWAP tunnel interface and assign the VAP to a service zone. Here you have two options. One is that you can direct all traffic back to the controller via a complete tunnel. So in this scenario, User data traffic, authentication traffic, and management traffic will all have to be processed by the controller before they go out into the internet. You also have the choice to establish a split tunnel where the user data traffic does not go through the controller but rather exits locally, hence relieves the total bandwidth at the WHG controller. Then, let's move on to the local area AP management, LAPM for short. LAPM is centralized AP management strictly over the Layer 2 network only. For IPNet APs must be under LAN side. Here you can see the parameters are very similar to that of WAPM, including templates, upgrade, firmware, rogue AP detection, and AP load balancing. The quick start guidelines are also similar to that of WAPM, besides the fact that the editable AP template in LAPM is not generic, so you must select the correct AP model and then configure its template. In this scenario, there's no need to worry about choosing the wrong specific wireless settings, since each model's template will only allow you to configure the model's specified features. Next, let's move on to the LAPM AP template, which is completely different from that of WAPM. You must select the AP model first. As you can see here, we select EAP727. And then you can click on the pencil icon to configure the specified template. Please take a look at this screenshot of a LAPM template. Here you are able to modify features such as AP IP address, subnet mask, default gateway, DNS server, wireless features, Layer 2 firewall, and more advanced firewall. Here is a screenshot of the wireless configuration in LAPM template. You can configure either via RF cards A or B and add an VAP to the selected card. The VAP edit page is slightly different from that of WAPM, but it still serves the same purpose to present the main parameter profiles such as SSID, consecutive dropped packets, and security settings. As for the AP list, there are a few minor differences. All AP types are listed together, and you have the option to check off the models you do not need to view. Similar to WAPM's AP list, there are two ways to add APs. One is you can manually add them to the network, or another way is you can enable auto discovery mode that can discover multiple APs at the same time. I would like to quickly walk through the Find Multiple APs page with you. The first step is to select the AP type, then the service zone which APs are going to be added to. Next, if the APs you're planning to discover is all in the factory default setting, you may choose the factory default mode. If the AP's IP address has been previously changed, you may manually input your AP's IP range and admin's password. One important note regarding managing the APs with a service zone other than default is that the discovered APs will be applied with the VLAN corresponding to the service zone that you selected. To emphasize once more, service zone and VLAN for management are corresponding factors. After all parameters are determined, click Scan Now, and the page will be automatically refreshed to discovery results. So when the action is in progress, you will notice the notification on top of the discovery results. Discovery is in progress, also indicating the numbers of APs found. After the action is completed, the sentence disappears. Once an AP is discovered, the IP address will be changed according to the assigned service zone. Furthermore, you'll be able to change the AP name, password, template, and channel. So this is an overall view of a LAPM AP list. One main difference between the LAPM and WAPM AP list is that you can't access the AP's UI directly via the LAPM AP list. On the other hand, you can see the channels of each AP. When APs are under NAT, there is a way to access the AP's UI. You can go to the WHG's Monitor IP list and input the IP addresses of the managed LAPM APs, select the protocol, and then click the hyperlink, and it will take you to the AP's UI shown in the screenshot. To sum up, how does LAPM differ from WAPM? First, LAPM templates are AP model dependent, while WAPM templates are generic. Another difference is that you can configure settings of subnet mask, default gateway, and DNS in LAPM, but not in WAPM. And third, Under LAPM, channels are displayed in the AP list. Next, another difference is service zones are selected at the adding AP stage in LAPM, while in WAPM, they are selected at the VAP configuration page when choosing a CapWAP tunnel. And finally, you can only use NAT to enter AP admin's UI via monitor list in LAPM, which is not possible in WAPM. And finally, in the last slide, I would like to end the section with a comparison table of LAPM and WAPM so you can easily see which type to use when managing your APs. So this is the end of our specialist training. Please don't hesitate to write to us if you have any further questions. Thank you.